In the history of video games, we've seen countless titles inspired by what came before them. As an example, take Tekken. In the early 90s, Sega introduced the world to 3D fighting games with Virtua Fighter, and Namco, seeing the potential, followed that blueprint, but made it their own. That's how innovation works in this industry. We've seen this pattern across genres: stealth games, platformers, shooters, and today, racing games. In 1992, Nintendo gave us one of the most influential racers of all time, Super Mario Kart. Players competed in fast-paced kart races using chaotic power-ups, all while racing through tracks inspired by the Mario universe. It was a formula so strong, you'd think Nintendo had gaming on lock. But if you see my first Crash Bandicoot video, you already know. Since the PlayStation's inception, there was always a cold war between Sony and Nintendo. The PlayStation itself was born from a broken partnership, and once Sony entered the gaming market, they weren't just here to compete, they were there to disrupt. That disruption came in the form of Crash Bandicoot. Through the late 90s, Crash dominated the platforming scene. His games didn't just sell well, they showed off how powerful the PlayStation really was. Crash became Sony's mascot, and to Nintendo, their biggest headache. But after 3 legendary platformers, it was time for Naughty Dog to move on. And instead of going out with another platform game, Naughty Dog decided to do something bold: a kart racer. A game so polished, so fast, and so competitive that some would argue it didn't just rival Mario Kart, it surpassed it. This wasn't just Naughty Dog's farewell to Crash, it was one last middle finger to Nintendo. Welcome to episode 4 of the Naughty Dog Takeover. Today, we say goodbye to Crash Bandicoot with Crash Team Racing.
Okay, watch and learn.
Oh, I'm learning all right.
Ellie, stay up, come on! What? Is that it?
You asked for it.
To all my returning viewers, welcome back. And to all my new viewers, welcome. I'm the Retro Phantom. It's nice to meet you. Every week on this channel, I cover games that shaped our childhoods and defined entire eras. Right now, I'm smack dab in the middle of my Naughty Dog Takeover series. So far, we've covered the entire original Crash Bandicoot trilogy, and today marks our final Crash video in this takeover. If you want to see the full rise of Naughty Dog and how they helped shape the 90s, feel free to check out my Naughty Dog playlist. Starting next month, on the first Saturday of February, we continue the takeover with Jack and Daxter. So if you enjoy long-form retrospectives and want to stay up to date with everything I'm working on, consider hitting that subscribe button. We're currently less than 1,600 subs away from 10K, and my goal this year is 15K. The best way to support the channel is simple: like the video and hype it up. It really helps smaller YouTube channels like mine. And if you're feeling a little extra generous, you can always buy me a cup of coffee. Link is in the description. With that said, let's dive into this.
Step out of the car now, sir.
You're way over the speed limit. You've run 2 guys off the road. You've been throwing green stuff into the path of oncoming vehicles.
Step out of the car now.
We got you on video.
Hey, Murphy, look what I found in the trunk.
Okay, if this isn't your first Naughty Dog video, feel free to skip ahead. I'll give you a moment to do that now. As we covered throughout this takeover, the story of Naughty Dog begins in 1982 when two kids at a weekend Hebrew school, Andy Gavin and Jason Rubin, bonded over their shared obsession with computers and video games. From the start, their partnership was perfectly balanced. Gavin handled the code, Rubin handled the art, and together they learned game development the hard way. No internet, no tutorials, and no safety net. Games like Math Jam, Ski Craze, and Dream Zone weren't hits, but they were crucial stepping stones for the two game developers. Their first real industry break came through EA, where they officially adopted the name Naughty Dog and released Keith the Thief, and later Rings of Power on the Sega Genesis. While those games performed well, publisher control and cartridge limitations burned the team out, so they walked away from the industry. That is until everything changed with CD-based gaming.
Pays close attention when Sega unveils its latest technological advancement.
So Sega came out with the Sega CD. All of a sudden, games were going to be huge. They could be 600 megabytes of information.
After developing Way of the Warrior, Naughty Dog caught the attention of Universal Interactive Studios, which sent them west to California. Somewhere during that cross-country move, a joke was pitched: Sonic's ass. This turned into a fully realized character. That character was Crash Bandicoot. This game would release in 1996 and push the original PlayStation harder than almost any American developer did at that time. Despite skepticism from Sony Japan and even blunt criticism from Ken Kutaragi, the game became a massive success, selling over 1.5 million copies by '97. Crash didn't just sell well, it became the face of the PlayStation. From there, Naughty Dog hit their stride. Crash 2, Cortex Strikes Back, rebuilt the engine from the ground up, refined the gameplay, introduced Coco Bandicoot, and proved Crash was more than a one-hit wonder. Then came Warped. Development in just 10.5 months, Warped was Naughty Dog's operating at its peak efficiency. New gameplay engines, time trials, vehicle stages, deeper 3D movement, and technical breakthroughs, especially with water rendering in depth, pushed the PlayStation to its limits. By November 1998, the Crash trilogy was complete.
With Andy Gavin and Jason Rubin, guys from Naughty Dog, the creators of Crash Bandicoot, and we're talking about Crash 3, yeah?
Yeah, Crash 3.
I saw some screens on this. Amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, how much better can you guys make this game?
We tried. At this point, not that much, I'm sure. It's we got a lot of surprises, a lot of surprises that we haven't even shown here. But for now, we're really happy with what we've done, and yeah, we think this is the big one. This is the best of them.
We've been really focusing on like different gameplay elements and stuff, just giving the player tons of different stuff to do, like tons of different controls and like vehicles and like things to ride and like just have a lot of fun.
Now I saw an underwater level, which I thought was the best level so far of any level I've ever seen in Crash.
Right, but we're holding our consistency. You know, Crash has got scuba gear because we all know he can't really swim.
Right.
But with the scuba gear, I guess it's okay, just like you and me.
I saw Crash being chased by this big-ass dinosaur thing, and there's some cool reflection going on there. What's that all about?
Well, beyond improving the gameplay, because we're definitely getting better with gameplay as we go into the series, we've also gotten much better at the PlayStation. How much of the PlayStation's power are we using? More than last year, you know? And one of the things that we've gotten down now is not only standing on ice reflections like we did in Crash 2, but standing knee-deep in water and having your body sort of cut off at the knees and having a reflection as it would in a pool of water. So it's our new trick. Impossible with the Z-buffer, so it's not even a fake Z-buffer now, it's beyond that.
You can see a lot more of the game. I mean, there's a lot more depth and action going on, and you know, you're going down canyons and stuff. I mean, you guys trying to like expand the world of Crash here?
We've really tried to open it up and give you like broad, far view so you can get a real like panoramic sense of the world.
Crash 1 was a pretty big game. Crash 2, even bigger still. Is Crash 3 going to be an even bigger and longer game?
Absolutely. I think that Crash 3 has more levels, there's more detail in them, and we're adding some new gameplay on top of getting crystals and getting gems as you did in the past. There's now an additional thing to get. So there's going to be endless gameplay for someone who wants to get the true 100%.
What is the best part about making the Crash games? You know, pushing the limit, what's the best part about making the new Crash?
Well, those of us that have been with Crash since the beginning, we've actually spent more time now on Crash Bandicoots than we spent in college. We spent more than 4 years total by the end of this project. So we know this character well. It's like a best friend, and it's great working with a best friend. It's great doing another title where you know, I understand this world. I know what things look like in this world.
What are the total number of units sold for Crash worldwide?
Sony made a press release about a month or two ago that we had hit 5 million on 1 and 2 together. Crash 1 is the best-selling PlayStation title in America. We've really been able to hit numbers that are, you know, it's 10 games in the industry have ever done it, and it's going right back to the beginning.
Great talking to you guys. Cool.
Thank you.
Now that we're all caught up, we can finally talk about Crash Team Racing. Now, what if I told you this game didn't originally start as a Crash game at all? By the late 90s, Naughty Dog was exhausted. Ever since Universal Interactive Studios gave them the opportunity to create Crash, the studio had become nothing but Crash Bandicoot. 3 platformers in rapid succession had defined the PlayStation era, but internally, the team wanted to expand their reach and prove they weren't locked into one single genre. Their next idea wasn't another platformer. It was a racing game. At first, the concept existed without an identity. The mechanics came first. Tight controls, technical driving, speed, but the characters themselves were undefined. To prove the idea could even work on the original PlayStation, Naughty Dog built a full test track modeled after Diddy Kong Racing's Crescent Island, using it to see whether a racetrack of that scope and scale was even possible on Sony's hardware. When they showed this demo to Sony, their reaction was cautious. The tech worked, but without recognizable characters, Sony was hesitant to greenlight the project. So Naughty Dog made a bold decision. They gave the game Crash Bandicoot's identity. By attaching Crash and his cast to the project, the team unlocked approval, and suddenly, this racing game wasn't just a technical experiment. It became a way to evolve the franchise without repeating the platforming formula.
So, Jack was definitely self-directed. We had a 3-project deal with Universal, and that was ended up being Crash 1, Crash 2, and Crash 3. After Crash 3, we decided we were going to continue working with Universal. And we set off to make a racing game that at the time had block-headed characters with no personality in it. Took that racing game engine to Sony and said, it'd be really nice if this was a Crash game. We don't want to work with Universal. You guys need to figure this out.
Wait, who said I want to make a bland driving game with no characters?
We did.
That was you guys. Like,
let's do a racing game. Worst case scenario, we'll figure out new characters. Best case scenario, Sony will get the rights to Crash from Universal. That did happen. They got the rights. It was the right thing for everybody. That became Crash Team Racing.
With the project finally greenlit, development began simultaneously with Crash Bandicoot Warped. While one half of the studio pushed to finish the trilogy, the other focused entirely on what would become Crash Team Racing. Development lasted just 8 months, with a budget of $2.4 million and a small but focused team of 16 to 18 developers. Character designs were handled by Charles Zimbelas and Joe Pearson, the same artist responsible for shaping Crash and his world across the trilogy. From a technical standpoint, Crash Team Racing was deceptively complex. One major challenge was split-screen multiplayer, specifically rendering up to 64 spinning kart tires at once. Programmer Greg Oni solved this by rendering the tires as camera-facing 2D sprites, dramatically reducing performance strain. To separate Crash Team Racing from other kart racers, Naughty Dog introduced a turbo system built around the skill-based power sliding and hanging time boosts. Speed wasn't just handed to the player, it had to be earned. This made races feel faster, deeper, and far more interactive than the genre standard at the time. By this point, it was clear this wasn't just a side project.
How do you kick butt as a kart racer?
CTR, or Crash Team Racing, has been called by at least one reviewer the best kart game ever. Now it gives you even more ways to take on your friends. We asked the developers at Naughty Dog to show us why it's great, how to get the most out of it, and how you can get the inside edge that leaves your friends in the dust. When we caught up with them, they were trying to kick each other's butts at a nearby track.
Naughty Dog are huge fans of the kart racing genre. We're also extremely into multiplayer games, and we really wanted to bring the two of them to the PlayStation. And in America, this is the first time actually that it's really been done for the PlayStation. So far, the press has been extremely enthusiastic about the game. I think one of the things that they're most excited about, besides the technology and the fact that the engine is so beautiful and so clean and crisp, is the fact that there are so many options. You can either do arcade mode, which is just get in and race against other cars, and you can do that 1 or 2 player. You can go versus mode, 1, 2, 3, or 4 player, so you can play against your friends with a multi-tap. You can go time trial mode, which is just you and the course in your best time. There's a Relic race, which allows you to race around the course, and there are time boxes set out that you can hit that kind of freeze the clock for a little bit of time, so it's a little bit more strategy. There's an adventure mode where you collect gems, you collect trophies, you collect the things that Crash games are famous for giving you, and go for that 100%. And then also there's a battle mode, which is kind of a totally different take on the racing, and you can go in with 1, 2, 3, or 4 players, and basically there's no finish line. There's just missiles, rockets, shields. It's a match to the last man standing, and we have a lot of options there for teams, 2 on 2, 3 on 1. You can do a lot of different things.
These two guys designed the torturous tracks that are going to challenge you. We asked them what will stand out and how you can get an edge.
I'm really proud about the big air. I think that the vertical gameplay in this racing game is something we've never seen before in any game, and the idea of the hang time meter and trying to get big jumps and trying to get big air so that you land and you get the big turbos. That we've seen people, they're just very addicted to trying to find places within the track that they can get larger jumps.
Some of the other things we tried to focus on was giving each track a specific theme. In the sewer round, there's a half pipe that you race in, going up and down on the turns and sort of catching air on the lips of the pipe. And then another themed level we have is the castle level, where essentially all of the turns are 90 degrees. So it's a lot of right angles that you have to navigate very quickly and sharply.
A lot of racing games really are about soft control, and you have to just like work really hard just to stay on the track. And we decided early on that we were going to give the player very tight control, and then within that, make the gameplay complicated so that you had to choose good lines and you had to avoid the obstacles and really work hard to maximize your lap times.
We've got a pretty sophisticated turbo system where the player can achieve turbos through at least 4 different ways. Through a combination of using all 4 types of those turbos, you can, on some tracks, almost be in a constant turbo for an entire lap.
One tip for being the best driver possible, you've got to hit the tops of the whoop-de-doos. You'll see like a bunch of bumps coming in a row in order to really get off those. If you hit the back side of one, you're coming in, boom, you aren't moving forward anymore because you like slam into the back of it. So if you hit it, if you can nail the top of it, you come in and you'll like go over the top.
Something really cool about this game is that you can play with friends and select from more than 12 characters, including the bad guys. And there's a new bad guy, Enoxide. Here's where he came from.
As we were building the space round, it just clicked. Everything fell into place. Why not an alien? Jason had the idea of 4 legs. Our Japanese producers had the idea of the very racer helmet-like design. Several American producers had the feedback of the dreads coming out of the sides of the helmet. It was a very good mix of all the input.
Before we left, we found out that the Naughty Dog developers created an exclusive download for subscribers like you.
As a special thank you to PlayStation Underground viewers for all your years of playing Crash games, we have on this PlayStation Underground a secret character that can be unlocked only with PlayStation Underground. Play it, tease your friends.
Tease your friends? Tease your friends? What could you possibly tease your friends about?
I'm not very good at my own game, so I had to throw
CTR. It's no ordinary racing game, but the chance to take your friends on in the ultimate battle on wheels. Good luck kicking butt.
After years of redefining platformers and months of quietly redefining kart racing, Naughty Dog prepared to say goodbye to the Crash series. On October 19, 1999, Crash Team Racing was released worldwide.
Is it my imagination? Are we going like 1 mile an hour? What's going on here? Oi! Geezer! What? I've flights in 10 minutes! Well, we better hurry then, didn't we? Buckle up, boys, buckle up! Come off me, mate!
So, let's face the facts. I'm hot, you're hot. Who wants to pet me?
Crash Team Racing. Once he gets behind the wheel, things get ugly.
You and me. Booyah, Grandma. Booyah.
At its core, Crash Team Racing isn't just about finishing first. It's about survival. The game opens with Nitrous Oxide, a self-proclaimed galaxy-hopping speed demon who invades Crash's island with one simple belief. He's the fastest racer in the universe. To prove it, he challenges Earth's best driver to a race, with the planet itself on the line. Lose, and Oxide turns the entire world into a concrete parking lot. That setup immediately gives Crash Team Racing something most kart racers at the time didn't bother with: stakes. This isn't just a string of disconnected races, it's a full-blown karting adventure where every track, every win, and every boss race pushes you closer to saving Crash's world. What makes this even more interesting is how desperation creates unlikely alliances. Even Dr. Neo Cortex, Crash's longtime enemy, joins the fight, because Oxide is that big of a threat. Heroes, villains, and rivals all believe they might be fast enough to stop him, and Crash Team Racing lets the player decide who steps into that role. From the very start, the game makes one thing clear. This isn't a casual kart racer meant to coast on charm alone. You're thrown into competition where reflexes, mastery, and speed actually matter, and Oxide isn't waiting at the finish line unless you earn your way there. Some behind-the-scenes content adds even more weight to that design. As highlighted by Pop Fiction, Nitrous Oxide was never intended to be playable due to PlayStation's memory limitations. Those same constraints shaped the roster itself. Polar and Pearl were originally meant to share a single kart as one character, while both Kamado brothers were planned to appear before Kamado mode was ultimately cut. These decisions weren't about trimming excess, but about making the experience fit within the hardware while preserving its ambition.
Though there have been slight variations to the purported way to unlock Nitrous Oxide, this is the method that came up the most in our research. First, you collect all of the platinum relics in the game's adventure mode, and then defeat Nitrous Oxide in the final challenge race. Once you've cleared this hurdle, move on into the time trial mode and earn a fast enough time to unlock the end trophy ghost on every track. You supposedly have to do the tracks in a specific order, starting with Crash Cove. Then, after you defeat his ghost on each track, the Nitrous Oxide ghost will become unlocked. Once again, you'll need to play the tracks in a specific order, starting with Crash Cove. After you defeat all of the Nitrous Oxide ghosts, return back to the main menu and input the following code. If you did this correctly, you should hear a sound effect confirming the code worked. Nitrous Oxide will then be yours for the choosing. Laboring for countless hours, we plowed through the entirety of the adventure mode, collecting every last platinum relic. We then defeated Nitrous Oxide in the final race and turned to the crazy task of defeating the ghosts on each track, which proved to be rather difficult. Eventually, we had defeated every last Nitrous Oxide ghost and returned to the menu to input the code. However, the code never triggered a sound effect, and Nitrous Oxide was not available for play. Perhaps we'd overlooked something, so for the sake of being thorough, we went back and completed the adventure mode at 101%. It still didn't work. Then we resorted to downloading a save file with everything supposedly completed and collected, but the results were the same. While other cheat codes worked just fine, The nitrous oxide code did not. That still left us with the video evidence, which even viewed today looks convincing. Though it's possible with today's technology, it's hard to imagine back in the heyday of the PlayStation, anyone having the technical ability to hack new content into a console game. That's when we came across a thread on NeoSeeker from 2004 that tried to organize a massive fan effort to get to the bottom of this rumor. Though much of the postings were idle speculation and hearsay, there was one user named Diego Rey who claimed to have found a code for a cheat device that would unlock nitrous oxide. Initially, due to some confusion over region differences and code formatting variations between different devices, nobody could verify his claims and assumed it was another dead end. But eventually the codes were converted to suit the various cheat devices in different game versions, and fans began to claim they could race as nitrous oxide. However, there were still skeptics, so we secured a GameShark device and tried out the codes on a retail PlayStation. Unfortunately, every time the game tried to load the race with nitrous oxide supposedly as our character, the game would freeze. That's when we resorted to using an emulator with our game disc. We inputted the GameShark code, and after some failed attempts, we were astonished when nitrous oxide became available for play. He only worked on a few courses, and at some point, the game would crash. So technically, nitrous oxide is playable, but using an emulator to achieve it makes us skeptical as to whether Naughty Dog ever intended for this to be the case. Thankfully, we had a chance to sit down with Evan Wells, the current co-president of the company and one of the lead developers on Crash Team Racing, to finally solve this mystery.
I was a game designer back then. The team was really small. There was 15 people, and I think it was just me and Dan Airy was the other game designer, so it was just two of us. Nitrous Oxide was never designed to be anything but the boss character that he was with the shipped game. We know a lot of people were digging for secrets. There's a lot of rumors out there about whether he was playable, whether he was unlockable if you beat all the ghost times or something like that, but it was a technical issue. We considered making him playable at one point, but we were under such just extreme memory limitations on the PlayStation 1. I mean, I think it had like 2 megs of memory or something in the entire system, so everything was just stripped down, and we actually even had to design his boss level specifically to keep in mind that his character model is going to be a little bigger than average, and so we just couldn't make them work across the whole game. We knew that people were hacking the game, and GameShark was sort of this big thing. In fact, we would use it in the office ourselves because it allowed us to install this thing called Easy Array, which was Yarose spelled backwards, which was the thing that Sony actually gave out to fans to do homebrew style PS1 games, and so somebody actually made their own that you could install on GameShark, and we used it in the office because it would give us better data dumps when the game crashed to see the call stacks and the registers. Over the course of development, a lot of things changed. We had a change to the roster of characters. Originally, we were going to try to have Purah and Polar be just one character. They're going to ride in one cart together, but again, because of the memory limitations, we couldn't actually get both of them in one cart, and Komodo, Mo, and Joe were both supposed to show up, but one of them had to sit on the sidelines. And then early on in development, when we were actually still just trying to prototype the game, this is back, I think, when we were still working on Crash Bandicoot 3, in fact, in the early days of CTR, we were doing some overlapping development. We actually built an entire replica of Crescent Island from Diddy Kong Racing, because we wanted to say, okay, this is a track we know is fun to play. In another game, we want to make sure that we can reproduce a track of that scope and scale on the PS1, and so we built that in its entirety, pirate ship and all, and we were able to prove that, okay, yeah, we can actually build this environment, we can fit it in memory, frame rate, all that stuff works. Of course, it never saw the light of day. It was never supposed to. We were copying somebody else's work, so it's just for test, but you know, it probably is on our server somewhere.
Unlike most kart races of its era, Crash Team Racing doesn't funnel everything into a single race option. Instead, it offers multiple distinct modes, each built around a different way of engaging with the game. No matter the mode, you always begin by choosing your racer, but depending on how you race and what the game demands from you, changes dramatically depending on that choice. At the heart of the experience is Adventure Mode. This is a full single-player campaign, not just a playlist of races. Player progresses through theme hubs, unlocking tracks and boss races while collecting trophies, tokens, relics, gems, and keys. The structure feels closer to a platformer's world progression than traditional racer, reinforcing the idea that Crash Team Racing was built as a complete experience, not a party-only spinoff. Progression only saved directly to a memory card, allowing players to return and steadily work towards full completion. Then there's time trial, which strips the game down to its purest form. No items, no other racers, just you, the track, and the clock. This mode exists entirely to test mastery. Players can select any track and focus solely on speed and precision, learning the nuances of drifting, boosts, and racing lines. After each run, the game allows you to save a ghost, a replay of your best performance. So you can race against yourself and shave seconds off your time. It's here where the game begins to reveal just how deep its mechanics really are. For quicker successions, arcade mode offers flexibility. Players can jump into single race or cup race, freely choosing difficulty settings, lap counts, and tracks. Single races allow 1 or 2 players to compete against AI drivers, while cup races link 4 tracks together where points carry over between races. Difficulty options, you got easy, medium, and hard. These aren't just cosmetic, they actually mean something this time. On higher settings, AI racers become noticeably more aggressive, forcing cleaner driving, better boost timing, and way fewer mistakes. For my pure completionists, there's Versus Mode. This is the game's loudest and most chaotic moment. Up to 4 players can race across selected tracks or full clips in split screen, with points determining the winner. It's fast, competitive, and unapologetically intense. And like the rest of the game, it rewards players who understand the mechanics rather than those relying on luck alone. What's important is that none of these modes feel like filler. Each one serves a purpose, offering different ways to engage with the same core systems. Whether you're pushing consistently in cups or settling rivalries on the couch, this game constantly challenges players to refine their skills rather than simply survive the race. And once you step off the track, the game takes that competitive mindset even further. Beyond traditional racing, Crash Team Racing also leans into combat with a dedicated battle mode. Here, up to 4 players face off in enclosed areas built specifically for chaos rather than speed. Instead of focusing on lap times, battle mode turns Crash Team Racing into full-on kart warfare. Players can team up or go free-for-all, launching weapons and hunting each other down across 7 unique areas. It's designed for couch competition, less about racing lines, more about positioning, awareness, and timing. Whether you're shaving milliseconds off a time trial, refining a Relic run, this game rewards improvement through persistence, a design choice that leans heavily into its arcade roots while supporting the long-term mastery. It's even a nice callback to the original platformer, where you had to keep going at it to eventually shave down time. But where this game truly shines is once you're actually on the track. The heads-up display is dense but purposeful. Your total race time, lap count, position, and current item are always visible, while the Wumpa Fruit counter directly ties performance to power. Hit 10 Wumpa Fruit and every item becomes fully upgraded, turning smart crate management into a strategic adventure rather than simple luck. Movement, however, is where the game separates itself. The hang time meter rewards airtime with speed boosts upon landing, while the turbo boost meter governs Crash Team Race's most important mechanic, power sliding. During a slide, the meter fills and flashes red, signaling the precise moment to trigger a boost. Chain 3 boosts correctly and the final one delivers a significant burst of speed. Miss the timing and momentum collapses instantly. Speed in Crash Team Racing isn't random. It isn't item dependent. It's mechanical and earned. You're not just racing the track, you're managing momentum. These systems feed directly into the game's broader progression loop without needing to explain themselves. Tracks aren't just obstacles to clear, they're spaces to learn, optimize, and eventually dominate. Each return run becomes cleaner, faster, and more deliberate as mastery replaces survival. The result is a kart racer that feels intentional at every level. Every mechanic reinforces progression, every system rewards understanding, and every race matters. Not just because the game tells you it does, but because improvement is built directly into how this game plays. Crash Team Racing doesn't just ask you to play, it asks you to get better. Once you earn a trophy on the track, the game doesn't move on. It pushes back. Re-entering a completed course unlocks the challenge, transforming familiar tracks into precision tests. The letters C, T, and R are scattered throughout the course, forcing players to balance optimal racing lines with calculated risk. Winning isn't enough. You must collect all 3 letters and still finish in first place. Complete the challenge and you're rewarded with a CTR token. Those tokens come in 5 colors: red, blue, green, yellow, and purple. And collecting 4 of the same color unlocks that color's gem cup. This is where Crash Team Racing stops being forgiving. Gem cups are 4 race gauntlets where consistency matters more than individual victories. Points carry over from race to race, and one mistake can derail an entire cup. First place earns 9 points, second gets 6, third gets 3, and fourth barely survives with 1. Only the racer with the highest total walks away with the gem. Crash Team Racing isn't testing whether you can win once, it's testing whether you can perform under pressure. Beyond the races themselves are the bonus rounds, hidden within the boss areas. These abandon traditional racing entirely, challenging players to collect 20 crystals before time expires. With no opponents, no items, precision replaces speed. Completing the challenge awards a rare purple CTR token, further tying these movements into the game's progression loop. All of this feeds into the game's win conditions. To fully complete adventure mode, players must conquer every trophy race across 16 tracks, defeat each area boss, and earn their boss keys, and ultimately unlock the path to nitrous oxide himself. Reaching the end isn't enough. Completion is something that has to be earned. Navigation plays a crucial role in managing that journey. The in-game radar turns the world map into a readable progression system. Open warp pads sparkle, unopened ones appear as gray dots, and completed tracks are clearly marked based on earned trophies, CTR tokens, and relics. Stars indicate boss garages, green bars mark save points, and every visual cue reinforces spiritual awareness, something rarely seen in kart racers of this era. Winning a level isn't the finish line, it's the invitation to mastery. Every track begins as a trophy race, where the first place proves you're fast enough. But to prove true command, this game asks you return for relic races. These remove other racers entirely, shifting the focus to speed and efficiency and execution. Time crates line the course, freezing the timer when broken, and if you manage to destroy every crate while maintaining pace, you're rewarded with a massive time bonus at the end. Sapphire, gold, and the platinum relics aren't just bragging rights. They're proof that you learned the track inside and out. Every corner, shortcut, and boost opportunity committed to muscle memory. What makes all this work is how naturally it fits together. Crash Team Racing never feels like it's padding content. Challenges aren't layered on top of the experience. They grow out of it. Mastery doesn't come from grinding. It comes from understanding. Each return to a track feels purposeful, not repetitive. That philosophy extends beyond racing itself. Even something as simple as the pause screen reflects Naughty Dog's respect for players' time. Depending on where you are, mid-race or on the adventure map, the pause menu provides meaningful information. You can review adventure stacks, track collected items, revisit Aku Aku or Uka Uka hints, or adjust audio settings. It's clean, practical, and built for long sessions rather than quick distractions. That same mindset carries into saving and progression. This game doesn't rely on automatic checkpoints. Instead, it uses dedicated save points across the world map, giving players control over when progress is preserved. Pull into a save pad, choose your memory card slot, and commit. It's old school by modern standards, but intentional. Progress is something you secure, not something the game assumes. High scores follow that same mindset. When you post a top time in a relic race or a time trial, Crash Team Racing pauses to ask if your performance is worthy of being recorded. Enter your name, save the score, and that accomplishment becomes part of the game's internal history. It's a small touch, but one that reinforces the game's competitive nature. This isn't about beating the game, it's about leaving a mark. Even loading your adventure reinforces the structure. You don't simply hit continue, you deliberately select your save file, review your completion stats, and re-enter the world knowing exactly where you stand. Individually, these systems might seem minor. Together, pause menus, saving, high scores, they support Crash Team Racing's larger goal, commitment. This is a kart racer that expects players to sit down and learn its mechanics, revisit its tracks, and improve over time. Crash Team Racing doesn't rush you, but it also doesn't carry you. That balance between accessibility and demand is a big reason the game has endured long after its era ended. Beyond Nitrous Oxide, the playable roster is made up of familiar faces fans already knew from the Crash trilogy. Crash Team Racing didn't reinvent its cast, it doubled down on it. Characters like Crash, Coco, Cortex, Engine, Tiny, Dingodile, Polar, and Purah all return, each translated into kart racers with stats that subtly reflect their personalities from the platformers. Heavier characters favor speed and power, lighter ones emphasize handling and acceleration, encouraging experimentation across different tracks rather than locking players into a single best choice. And now, the elephant in the room. I won't tell if you do, and I don't necessarily condone it, but let's be honest. Cheat codes were a part of the experience back then. If you didn't have a memory card or you ran this game into the ground as a kid, Crash Team Racing had you covered. At the menu screen, holding L1 and R1 and inputting specific button combinations unlocked a wide range of cheats and bonuses. Characters like Fake Crash, Papu Papu, and Ripperoo could be unlocked instantly. You could enable unlimited turbos, permanent invisibility, or even infinite Witch Doctor masks. The possibilities were endless. And around this era of gaming, cheats were frowned upon. They were encouraged. Just look at old school GTA. Cheat codes didn't ruin the experience, they expanded it. Crash Team Racing embraced that same playful sandbox mentality. One final boss rounded out the package. Now, just like Warped, Crash Team Racing introduced another Spyro the Dragon demo right on the disc. From the main menu, holding L1 and R1, then pressing down, circle, triangle, right, unlocked a playable demo of Spyro 2. It's a reminder of how much content game disc used to carry. Full experiences, secrets, and surprises packed into a single release. And with that, Crash Team Racing didn't just close the Crash era at Naughty Dog, it closed it with confidence. Upon its release, Crash Team Racing was met with widespread critical acclaim. According to Metacritic, the game earned an aggregate score of 88 out of 100, placing it firmly in the generally favorable category. But for many critics at this time, that label didn't go far enough. Crash Team Racing was frequently described as the best kart racer on the PlayStation, and in several cases, reviewers went even further, arguing it outright surpassed Nintendo's offerings. Writers from Electronic Gaming Monthly and Electric Playground openly stated that Crash Team Racing outshined Mario Kart 64, citing tighter controls, stronger visuals, and more demanding track design. Doug Perry of IGN echoed that sentiment, praising Crash Team Racing for matching and in some areas exceeding both Mario Kart and Diddy Kong Racing, especially due to its lack of slowdown and added depth. One of the most consistently praised elements was control. Critics described the handling as tight, responsive, and intuitive, striking a rare balance between accessibility and mastery. Power sliding, jump boosts, and turbo chaining were repeatedly highlighted as systems that rewarded skilled play without alienating newcomers. While a few reviewers noted minor drawbacks such as the inability to remap controls or slightly awkward reverse turning radius, these criticisms were small compared to the overwhelming praise for how the game felt in motion. Visually, Crash Team Racing was considered one of the most impressive racing games on the original PlayStation. Reviewers praised its vibrant environments, expressive character animations, and clean presentation. often noting the near total absence of slowdown even in 4-player split screen. Several outlets favorably compared its performance to Nintendo 64 kart races, pointing how well Crash Team Racing maintained visual clarity without sacrificing speed. Track design was another standout. Critics described the courses as inventive, challenging, and packed with shortcuts and surprises. Tracks like Sewer Speedway, Cortex Castle, Tiny Arena, and Polar Pass were frequently mentioned as highlights, with reviewers emphasizing how success required learning layouts rather than relying on items alone. The general consensus was that Crash Team Racing's tracks demanded memorization, precision, and consistency, qualities that give the game its long-lasting appeal. The game modes also received high praise. Adventure Mode in particular was often compared to Diddy Kong Racing for its hub-based structure, boss races, and collectible-driven progression. Critics appreciated that Crash Team Racing offered a fully realized single-player experience rather than treating solo play as an afterthought. Multiplayer was equally celebrated, with 4 players racing in battle mode earning recognition for the depth, customization options, and strong performance through the multi-map. Sound design was viewed more positive than negative. Reviewers generally enjoyed the cartoon-style sound effects and character voice lines, though opinions on the music were mixed. Some praised its whimsical tone, while others found it repetitive or unmemorable. Still, few considered audio shortcomings significant enough to detract from the overall experience. Critics openly acknowledged that Crash Team Racing was heavily inspired by Mario Kart and Diddy Kong Racing. Several reviewers even referred to it as a Mario Kart clone. However, the prevailing argument was that Crash Team Racing's execution mattered more than originality. Many felt Naughty Dog refined the kart racing formula to such a degree that its derivative nature became irrelevant. The industry took notice, and Crash Team Racing was nominated for Console Racing Game of the Year at the 3rd Annual Interactive Achievement Awards, cementing its place among the most respected racers of its generation. Commercially, the game was a success. The first full month, Crash Team Racing ranked as the 3rd best-selling PlayStation game in the United States and remained on the sales charts in the US the following month. By the end of its run, it had sold approximately 1.9 million copies in the US and over 300,000 units in Japan, eventually earning re-releases under Sony's Greatest Hits and Platinum labels. Critically and commercially, Crash Team Racing wasn't just another kart racer. It was a statement. And now that we covered how the critics saw the game, it's time to look at how the average gamer experienced Crash Team Racing. While critics were largely unified in their praise, the conversation shifted once Crash Team Racing landed in players' hands. Among everyday gamers, Crash Team Racing became a game that people either deeply respected or struggled to fully embrace. For many players, Crash Team Racing was praised for the very things critics highlighted. Average gamers consistently pointed out the tight controls, fast-paced racing, and sheer amount of content as major strengths. The power sliding system, while demanding, was often described as satisfying once mastered, rewarding players who put in the time to learn its mechanics. Adventure Mode in particular stood out as a highlight, with players appreciating its hub-based structure, collectibles, and sense of progression that gave the game longevity well beyond a few multiplayer sessions. Replay value was another common point of praise. Players talked about returning to the tracks repeatedly to chase better times, earn relics, unlock characters, or complete Crash Team Racing challenges. For these gamers, Crash Team Racing wasn't just fun, it was addictive. It felt like a kart racer that respected skill and encouraged improvement, rather than one that relied purely on randomness. However, not all players walked away with the same experience. Some gamers found the game to be too frustrating, especially when compared to Mario Kart or even later Crash Racing entries. The difficulty curve was a frequent point of criticism, with players noting that the game could feel punishing if you didn't fully grasp power sliding and boost chaining early on. Missed boosts, tight turns, and aggressive AI made mistakes costly, leading some players to feel that the game demanded too much precision for a genre often associated with casual play. Others took issue with this familiarity, While critics were often willing to overlook the game's heavy inspiration, some players viewed it as a lack of originality and more harshly feeling the game didn't do enough to distinguish itself beyond execution. Few also criticized elements like character handling, balance, shortcut design, or overall challenge, arguing that success sometimes felt more exhausting than rewarding. Taken together, player reception paints a clear picture. This game wasn't built for everyone. It wasn't a kart racer you could casually coast through and forget. For players willing to learn its systems, it became one of the most rewarding racers of its generation. For those looking for a more relaxed, pick-up-and-play experience, it could feel overwhelming. And that divide between mastery and accessibility is exactly what defines Crash Team Race's legacy among the average gamer. But overall, the game was still a massive success. Much like rap music, gaming thrives on heavy competition. And much like film, you need blockbuster moments where creators push each other to raise the bar. That competition isn't about hate, it's about proving what's possible. I talked last year about Saints Row being the true rival to Grand Theft Auto, a series people thought was untouchable until competition arrived and forced innovation. And in this era of gaming history, Crash Team Racing was very clearly Mario Kart's rival. Sony wanted Crash to be that thorn in Nintendo's side. From the very first Crash game, that tension was always there. But Team Racing was the icing on the cake. Platformers were one thing, kart racers were Nintendo's home turf, and nobody truly expected Sony to step into that lane and land a hit. But they did. What's interesting is how the average gamer responded. Looking back at player reviews from the time, you see two very different reactions. Some players absolutely loved this game, praising the speed, its depth, and replay value, and how much skill it demanded. For them, this wasn't just a fun racer. It was a game that they kept coming back to, trying to master every track, every boost, every shortcut. But the others, not so much. Some players felt the difficulty was too punishing. Compared to Mario Kart or even Diddy Kong, Crash Team Racing didn't always feel forgiving. If you didn't understand power sliding early on, the game could feel frustrating. And for players looking for something more casual, that learning curve could be a turnoff. But that's the thing. Crash Team Racing was never trying to be easy. It wasn't trying to hold your hand. It respected the player enough to demand effort, and those willing to meet it halfway, it delivered one of the most rewarding kart racers of its generation. That's why decades later, this game still gets talked about the way it does. Not because it copied Mario Kart, but because it challenged it. Because it proved Sony could go toe-to-toe with Nintendo in a genre that they thought was locked down. And more importantly, because it was fun, fast, competitive, addictive, frustrating at times, but memorable. Crash Team Racing didn't just exist to race Mario Kart. It existed to raise the bar. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, and I appreciate every single one of you that's been rocking with me. Now, we're not done with the Naughty Dog takeover just yet. Next up, we're shifting gears to Jak and Daxter, as the entire month of February is dedicated to the Jak series. If you want to stay up to date, subscribing will keep you in the loop. And if you're feeling generous, you can always buy me a cup of coffee. Link is in the description. With that said, this is the Retro Phantom, signing out.